What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be finishing off our Death Star map guide, this time focusing on the defending side, which of course is the Galactic Empire. Now, if you haven't seen the attacking guide, then don't worry, there will be a link on screen at the end of the video, so make sure to go and check that one out as well. Now, before I get stuck into the guide, if you guys have any particular maps you'd like to see me cover next, then make sure to let me know down in the comments section. As of right now, I'm not 100% sure on which maps I am going to focus on next, so make sure to let me know down below any maps that you guys would like to see a guide for. So with that out of the way, let's get stuck straight into the guide. So starting off on the first phase, as the Empire, there are two objectives that you're going to need to defend to stop the enemies from progressing to the second phase of the map. This one over on the left is probably a little bit easier to defend as you can get set up a lot faster, while the other one over on the right side of the map is a little harder to defend at times, seeing as there are heaps of different angles that the enemies can come from. So straight off the bat, I usually head over to the left side of the map to try and get set up early on, as this one is a fair bit closer to where you spawn. I'll try and get into this little hallway area here, and you can sort of defend this in two different directions at once, although just keep in mind that because of this it is fairly easy to be taken out from both directions as well. Much like I said in the attacking guide, if you are playing as the Assault class, then you can't go past the improved Scan Dart and Acid Launcher star cards. They're both so dominant on this map because of all the choke points in close quarters battles, so they're definitely two of the most useful cards to use on this map. If you aren't a fan of the Assault class, then the Officer or Heavy classes are both just as good of an option as well. However, I'd probably recommend staying away from the Specialist class for now, unless you are really confident in your abilities. If you are defending this right side of the map, your only real goal is just to try and get as many kills as you can, so it's pretty much up to you on how you decide to do that. It's definitely a little easier to go on some big kill streaks if you do just patrol this little hallway rather than sprinting all over the map. However, as you can see here, if you do overstay your welcome, then you're just about guaranteed to die, as people will start to catch on, and then it's only really a matter of time before they start to gang up on you. Now, as for the right side of the map, the same sort of principle applies over here as well. I tend to try and sit around this area that you can see on screen, constantly moving between the main entrance to the room and the right flank as well, just to make sure that no one manages to slip past and create a little bit of chaos. If you and your teammates manage to lock down this area, as well as the hallway area that I mentioned for the other side of the map, you're just about guaranteed to take home the win in this first phase, as this is where most of the enemies are going to be coming through. Now, for this first phase, and pretty much for the whole map in general actually, if you can unlock a villain, then I can't recommend anyone other than Vader or Palpatine. If you can't get your hands on Vader, especially in this first phase, then the game is all but over, as he really is pretty much invincible on a map with so many different choke points. All you really need to do is just keep on the move from choke point to choke point, and so long as you make sure to block and use your saber throw ability, you can genuinely keep all 20 enemies from getting anywhere near the objectives on your own. As you can see, if you just keep moving around, then the enemies are never really going to stand a chance, and between the saber throw and your block ability, it actually takes just no effort at all to defend these areas. Literally just existing is going to scare most enemies away, which is usually going to bring home an early win. Now, if you do manage to get pushed back from the first phase, then you'll be on to the second phase, and just like the first one, you'll have another two objectives to defend from the enemies. The one over on the left side of the map is really confined and close quarters, so it really can go either way depending on who manages to set up first. As for the one over on the left side, if you make sure to try and cover each angle, then this can be super hard for the enemies to take, because as you can see, it is pretty open once you're actually in the area of the objective. Now, as for the objective over on the left side, this little area above the turbo laser is probably your best bet, as this is really the only place you can keep your eyes on all different entrances. Once the enemy does start taking the objective, you can see how easy it is to jump down and quickly take them out before they do too much damage, and then it's usually not a bad idea to either push up and play aggressively, or simply just to head back to the same spot where you came from and wait until they come back for seconds. As for the objective on the right side of the map, if you can get your hands on a Death Trooper, then you can do the same sort of thing as what I mentioned for Vader in the first phase. The combination of all your abilities and their extremely powerful blasters means you can just sit in a choke point and defend it on your own pretty much, leaving your teammates to get set up a lot easier as well. This main hallway that I mentioned in the attacking guide is a really good spot to set yourself up if you can get your hands on a Death Trooper, as this is where most of the traffic is going to be coming from. Use your Sonic Imploder as often as you can, as not only does it deal a crazy amount of damage, but it does also reveal most enemies to you and the rest of your team, effectively working the same as Rey's Insight ability, which I did also mention in the attacking guide as well. Now again, if you do manage to get pushed back from this phase, then you'll be onto the third and final phase of the map, and this one is by far one of my favourite phases from any map in the game. The objective on the left takes place underneath the surface here, and there are 4 different entrances to this little area, so it can be really hard to defend a lot of the time. As for the one over on the right side of the map, this one involves a lot more close quarters fighting. However, there are also heaps of different entrances for the enemies to come from as well, so you do need to make sure you don't get fixated on one single entrance, otherwise the enemies will easily sneak around and take you out from behind. Now, with the objective on the left side of the map, if you let them get to the underground area, it can be really hard to defend it from there, so I always try and play fairly aggressively and keep them as far back as I can for as long as I can. If you can manage to get yourself over to the left flank, as you can see on screen, you can usually take a lot of enemies by surprise, as they're rarely going to be expecting anyone to be this close to where they spawn, which is generally going to leave them fairly defenseless. Now, obviously, most of the time I do tell you guys to stay on the move, but really, when I am in this area, I actually just try and defend it until I die, rather than leaving and letting them progress further up the map. If you are able to get your hands on a villain in this last phase, Iden and Palpatine are probably the 2 that can cause the most damage to the enemy team. Palpatine is really useful for this left objective in the underground area. As you can see, it's pretty easy to rush in and take out a whole squad fairly quickly. And then once the area is cleared out, you can go back and keep playing aggressively to make sure the enemy team doesn't get too close to the objective again. Now, as for the right side of the map, Iden Versio is so well suited to defending this last objective, and all of her abilities combined with a TL50 are a match made in heaven for pretty much locking down this objective on your own. In pretty much the exact same way as I mentioned for the Death Trooper earlier, if you just keep moving around and patrolling different areas of the map, then you're going to be able to not only defend the objective, but more than likely go on a fairly big kill streak as well. So that's going to be it for our Death Star defending guide, guys. Hopefully some of these tips helped you out, and if they did, then make sure to leave a like down below to help support the channel. I'm sure I would have missed some really great tips in there, so if you do have any tips of your own, then definitely don't hesitate to leave a comment and let everyone know. The more tips the better, so definitely feel free to leave your own tips as well. If you are new to the channel, then feel free to subscribe and make sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any Battlefront 2 guides or live streams. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.